Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is Crusader Kings 2, the Byzantine Empire. And we're in pretty good shape, actually. It turns out the gentleman who I thought was coming to steal my lands from me is actually at war for Bulgaria, so I don't even have to worry about him, which is great. Also, it appears that the Abbasids and the Yabdasids are at war with each other, which means that now would be a wonderful time for a holy war because they're too busy fighting each other to really care all that much about me. The only question is, do I go for lands closer to me to kind of build up my buffer zone, or do I go straight for Alexandria, which I need for victory? Part of the answer to that will be whether or not. So I can't do anything against the Abbasids. I'm currently at peace with them, but I don't know why I'm truced with Lovro. That doesn't make... The war against Lovro of Lovro's host was won by the Vessalists of Dr. Clinical. When did I win this war? I don't remember this. But anyways, Bulgaria and the mayor of Cesano. So I can't war against the Abbasids, but I can take this province if I felt like it. I can take this province if I felt like it, which is the Yabdasids. That's all of this goodness. Or I can go straight for Alexandria. I could even take this if I wanted to, which is the same as this guy here. Basically anything but the Abbasids. I could even go against these guys, the Corridids, who are currently also at war with the Abbasids as well. Tel Bashiran war for Burhardin's claim on Arabian Empire. Even though it doesn't look like the Abbasids are at war with them. Strange. Maybe they're helping someone else. Don't know. But anyway, so that's some ideas. But before I go any further, someone saw Frisia and wanted to take a look at it, and for 2 episodes now I've forgotten like an idiot. So here's Frisia, although it's quite dark. Let's move back a little bit. It was light for a second. Ah, there we go. Now it's light again. So this is the Kingdom of Frisia. It is centered in Holland by young King Gilsbrecht, and he is the King of Frisia and the heir to the county of West Friesland. So the Kingdom of Frisia is this group right here, and their de jure kingdom stretches out a bit further, but they seem to be having a bad time against the Jarldom of Svilbjod and France. And, ooh, look at this, it's Denmark, Kingdom of Denmark. So Denmark's getting around as well, but Frisia is hanging in there. And this kid, he is currently just a kid. He's got Bishop Balderic of Haarlem as his regent. Haarlem, of course, is one of the Harlem Globetrotters. And he has all of these many titles. So it looks like he's pretty much in charge of Frisia all by himself. He's Count of Holland, Gelre, Friesland, and Breda. So boom, 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 and boom. So that, dear friends, is Frisia. What else is going on? Italy's back. There's Aquitaine in France, Lotharingia, Bavaria. This must be East Francia. Asturias is growing. It looks like after their aborted holy war against me, the Muslims in Spain have lost a little bit of their luster, and the Christians are gaining somewhat of an upper hand, though it's a tough row to hoe, as they have a lot of North Africa as well. It looks like Sardinia is independent, but I don't think I can declare war. No, I have no valid reason to declare war on them. That would be fun, though, certainly. We could always use more islands. But, you know what? I was deciding to make this a... Oh, what's the word? Not introspective, but a retrospective. My interlude, yes. One of my interlude episodes where we discuss the family and how things are going. So let's do that. If you'll recall, in the last interlude, which was many episodes ago, we stopped at Dr. Clinical when she was but a little girl. And now, of course, if you've been following, you know that she has Scholastica as her crown daughter, Sage Mistress, Poor Little Dead Yagnotimus, and Mikkel Brixen. She has 2 brothers and a sister. Tristan has Dead Partilla and Bob, who's 10 years old. Dr. Dalamand has Aoife, and Romanica. They're both very young. And Rapitia now has little Cortania. So this is the next generation of the mighty Aurelii. The fighting Aurelii. Let's see, as far as the other uncles and such, we have Shadia back, who is passed, unfortunately. Her daughter Declonia was a duchess. She had a daughter, 4 daughters basically, so the line died out, unfortunately, with them. Declonia had a daughter named Shadiabak. Actually, it looks like she was matrilineally married because I handled that one, and I know what I'm doing. Theocharistos is Declonia's son. He is now the Dew of Dyrrachium and the heir to the county of Salerno. Shadiabak II had 2 children, Sergios and Declonia, who are in House Pastilas. Theocharistos has 1 son, Sabatios, so he is the one Aurelius from this whole thing. Well, no, then there's Sergios and Zacharias from Himerios. And then Basileos is the youngest brother of them all and youngest son of Declonia. So then there was Maria. Maria, unfortunately, had 4 children outside of the Aurelius dynasty, though she did name one of them Shadiabak. Theokiste, Kira. And Irene, it looks like, at the age of 33, is unmarried and has no children. I doubt she will get around to it at this point. Desdemona is still alive, and she is a force to be reckoned with. She is Duchess Desdemonia of Armenia, a duchy that was not granted to her, that she actually created and took over on her own. Out of her children, she has Yannicke and Danielle, whom we named, and then Tip, who she named herself in honor of her father, and Anthemios. So Yannicke was matrilineally married, and she had 2 children, Adriane and Leon, so stupid names, and Danielle, unfortunately, married regularly and had Leon and Nicephorus. I'm not sure why. Maybe Leon's the dad's name. I can't quite tell. Then there's Tip II. He had Desdemona II, Thomas, Kyriaki, Romane, Hypatia, Leon, and Porphyrios. They are all still alive. Desdemona has a child of herself, little Eusebia, who is outside of our dynasty. So as you can tell, our dynasty is kind of dying off a little bit. And then there's Anthemios, who has little Gregorius Aurelius. So it sounds like they're not really keeping the names. They'll keep the name of their preceding generation, you know, the parents of them, but they won't go any further than that. Ah, we go. That's a lot bigger. I like it. So then there's Lucas. Lucas had his oldest daughter, Basilike, who married and had 4 kids, and they're all part of House de Cantabria, because remember, Lucas moved to Spain. He has another dead daughter, Hypatia, and then Kyriaki. He had 4 daughters, basically, so the name dies off with him, unfortunately. And Kyriaki also married a de Cantabria, hopefully not right after Basilike, because that would be weird. And then we have Alactera. Alactera is nothing. She was the princess of the Byzantine Empire, but she did give birth to Princess Irmgard the Unready, who was Duchess of Bavaria, Swabia, and Princess of Bavaria. She's still alive, strangely enough. And then she had 3 sons in a different dynasty, the Hungarian dynasty of House Arpad, so they have left our fold. Miyuki, as we all remember, was very prolific and had many children. The 2 that were most famous were Lady Person Man and Nyasha, who are both gone now. Lady Person Man had 4 children, but outside the dynasty. Nyasha as well, 6 children outside the dynasty, House Martiniakos. She had a son, her eldest son, Marcus, who was the Count of Rascia, and he gave birth to the Dew of Dalmatia and the Dew of Adrianopolis. This guy has 2 Dews right now, and he's related to me. He has, oh my goodness, does he have a lot of kids. First he has Kreftwer, who is passed, unfortunately. This is not our Kreftwer, this is another one. She married outside of the dynasty. Marcus II is, or I don't even know what number he is at this point, but he's still alive. He's the Sacalarios of Samos and the Dew of Samos, which means he is married to the Duchess of Samos and is heir to the Duchy of Adrianopolis. What you'll notice is a lot of our vassals are in marrying, basically. So we have a Duchess and a Dew marrying together, and so their child will inherit both, which is pretty scary because I don't like to consolidate power like that. But I guess I'd rather it be in the family than not. All of these guys are unmarried, it looks like. Bardus here is a bastard. Unfortunately, he is dead, so his awesome little wolf-headed shield, the House of Diadora, is not going anywhere. Then there is Callistos, the Count of Damascus. That means he's married to the Countess of Damascus, since he doesn't have a little rulership thingy. And he had 3 daughters. So the Aurelius name is not apparently going to die out with him, because he had the good sense to marry his daughter Eleodora matrilineally. So we have Sergios and Zacharias Aurelius there. And Miyuki II, I guess, named after her grandmother. has Marcus and Eulalia, and they are outside of the dynasty in House Lacanodrocon. Antiochus was the next son of Miyuki, and he had Tolstoy, Methodios, who is now the current emperor, well, the husband of Vasilissa, Dr. Clinical, and of course we know these kids because we've already discussed them. Tolstoy has Agna, Pamphilios, Theodora, and Thecla. Pamphilios has Martha. So these are all Aurelii. Grenadios has Theochiriste, and Ioannis has Cale, Eugenia, and Gregorios. And then finally, Helene died young, Eupraxia had one child outside the dynasty, and Eugenia died at 17. So those are the Miyuki Aurelius. Then we have Dr. Quacksalver, and we'll go back to Tolstoy and his bastard dynasty later. Dr. Quacksalver had Antonios, who was the Duke of Edessa. He then had a bastard daughter, Eulalia, Zara, who then had Dionysia outside the dynasty, Dr. Quacksalver II, who was the Duke of Edessa as well, and his now oldest son, Paschalis, is the Duke of Edessa, and it looks like they're leaving the names behind, unfortunately and sadly. And then two daughters, Justina and Viviana, each had children outside of our dynasty. Then there was Constans. He had a daughter and a son, and they are all still alive and happy because they're pretty young, 46, 26, and 2. So he's heir to the county of Lucania, and she's the Countess of Demetrius. So our people are getting around. Wade, since he was in the church, did not have any children. Kreftwer was our first duchess. She had Gabriella, Marcus, Athanasia, Isakos, and Pavlina. Gabriella went outside the dynasty. Marcus had no children. He died at 16. Athanasia is now the current Duchess of Adrianopolis and Dalmatia, and she's had this whole group of kids, of which Kreftwer is the eldest. I think we've already looked at her. And Marcus. So she's... Well, these two at least are the same as the Dr. Quacksalver's group of family. Then we have the rest of these guys. None of them have kids. Gregorios is our new Bishop of Jerusalem and Patriarch of Jerusalem. And they are luckily all Aurelii. Isakios and Pavlina both passed on before having any issue. Euclid, as you recall, was sent out and unfortunately died young. Her son died young, didn't go anywhere. Zinger had Sixus and then 3 children that we were not able to name. Sixus had, well, a lot of kids, but basically what you need to know about her is she married into Miyuki's family, and so all those people that we already looked at, Zara, Dr. Quacksalver II, and all that, they were all children of Sixus as well. So a little bit of inbreeding, but not too bad. Narcisse had 3 kids before dying. He is current Count of Antioch, Matthios, and Zara went outside the dynasty. Then there was Melissa. She had 1 daughter outside the dynasty, and Antonia, who had 2 daughters that are in the dynasty, and she unfortunately had a son outside the dynasty. So that's kind of where we're at. Zara, if you'll recall, was the wife of Zinger, and she was one of our great generals. So I'm glad that we're naming a lot of children after her because she was worth it. Then we have the Ethiopian Aureliis. Ronan Canum, of course, you recall, his son Eudokimos is the Count of Aleppo and Homs. His family will soon at some point be the Dukes of Aleppo, but we're waiting for a new generation. Eudokimos has 5 children, of which 4 are boys, the eldest being Ronan Canum, who is the heir to the county of Aleppo, and so he will keep the name going for quite a while. Then there's Euphosine, who married outside the dynasty and had 2 children with 2 different husbands. Andronikos was a bastard, and he died mysteriously. I think someone might have had him assassinated. Gosh, I couldn't imagine who it was, and we're just going to continue believing that. Simonis married outside the family to House Scaleros. Demetria, who never really liked me for some reason, she had 4 children, Xenia, who we named, Antonios, Marcus, and Eugenios. They are all currently without any issue, and Antonios is the Count of, say it with me, Krizevtsi. There we go. Good job, Marcus. Good job. And our second bastard, Pelagia, who had a wild and crazy life, but unfortunately it's not showing it to us here. She was the Shayaka of Guria. So, let's look at Tolstoy's House of Constantinople. they have done well for themselves. Tolstoy unfortunately died young, but he had 4 children. Kale married into the Aurelius family through more appropriate means, and so her children are all legitimate Aurelii, including Methodius, the current husband of Basilissa, Dr. Clinical. Neophytos was the Count of Brundisian, and he had 4 children, with Hierotheos being the new Count of Brundisian, and Damiane also marrying into the Aurelii dynasty. So she has 3 legitimate Aurelii kids. Adrienne married into some other house. Hierotheos has 2 sons and a daughter. The eldest son and heir is currently unwed, not a good thing. Apollonia is married outside the family. Then there was Marcus, who had Tolstoy, Simeon, and Narses, all of the House of Constantinople. He has 2 sons and a daughter. He has a daughter. And, oh, look, another Marcus. Marcus of Constantinople. So he's acknowledging down the line their bastard father. And Damiane, who is married into the House Rachites. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the dynasty as it currently stands. We apparently, well, the House of Constantinople has done well for itself with 21 members, of which 16 are still alive. The Aurelii have 127 members, of which 87 are still alive, which means 40 are dead. Moving along the royal line, you can see here that we are trying to bust out kids as fast as we can. Unfortunately, infant mortality being what it is, and general just waiting, we're doing our part. But what's cool about this is that all of these grandkids are named. I've been able to name all of them, so I'm trying really hard to keep them inside the capital. The next generation will start giving out territories, but not just yet. I want to get some more names out there. So this is the great and mighty House Aurelius. So before we end the episode, because again, this is just going to be an interlude, let's take a quick look at the situation that faces us in the world. We are currently the most powerful in terms of troop strength by quite a bit, almost double our next competitor, which is Persia, or as they are known as the Saffarids. I'm not sure why they use different names than what's on the map, but whatever. Mauritania, Egypt, and the Arabian Empire. So you'll notice that my 4 Muslim enemies are, after me, the most powerful forces in the world. That's interesting to state, and I think part of the reason for that, of course, is that the Western Catholic Europeans are very split up into minor little countries, where these guys tend to hold together in big globby masses. But there's also has to be some more to it, because the Arabian Empire, for example, only has 185 provinces. Egypt only has 69, and yet they have these huge numbers of troops, especially when you compare them to the realm size of mine, and it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. But with the exception of Mauritania, I will be fighting bitterly with all these 3 because I need their territory. Well, not so much the Saffarids, but I just don't like the fact that they're as strong as they are. I'm sure the Seljuk Turks will arrive at some point and they will put the hurt down on them. The strongest faction of the Westerners is East Francia, which is a shame because that's the one county that I could possibly take due to my de jure claims. Then we have Asturias and Italy and France, and so on and so forth. So we're doing pretty well. And that's really all the most interesting stuff. If you look here at the dynasties, the Aurelius dynasty is quite large, bigger at this point than the Carling dynasty. Italy is ruled now by the Peschiera dynasty, and De Cantabria, that's where the Lucas Aurelius family resides. We have the Arpads in Hungary, of course. The Z Dalemlkaus here. And in Frisia, which we looked at earlier, we have the Von... Where are you guys? We have the... Come on. The Von Dordrechts. That's who they are. All right, cool. The Ivarlings are doing quite well in Scotland. The Inglings in Norway. And that's really about it. This place right over here is kind of a cluster. Let's take a look at the religions of the world at this time. Catholic, of course, is huge. Orthodox is next. Hungary is pretty big in terms of landmass, if not population. Although they're interestingly in Hungary as well. There's Norse up here. The Romuvas here, Slavic generally over here. Orthodox is making its move, though, and then there's some Shia here, and everything around here is Sunni, although there is a little bit of Zoroastrian, interestingly enough, over here. Cool. Cultures. Greek is actually doing quite well, because the Western, they may have the same religion, but they all are very different cultures. And we are slowly, as you can see here, importing the Greek culture into the Levantine areas that we have conquered, though certainly not nearly fast enough. And we have some areas in our territory besides Levantine with cultures that are not ours, including some Armenian here. And if you go over to Italy, we have a little bit of Berber here, and well, this is Greek Byzantine, so I'm not sure why it's showing the way it is. And of course we have Serbian, Croatian, and Bulgarians, which we took over those countries. So that's how it looks on a religious basis. Economy, I don't even know what that even means. So, alright, ladies and gentlemen, that was our interlude. That's kind of where our family is at the moment. It's episode 41. Starting with the next episodes, we will continue to Holy War. I think we will take advantage of the ability to Holy War against Egypt without hopefully too strong a reprisal from the Abbasids, since they are currently at war with them as well. So thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.